What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined as always by my dad Sean, and today reactions to the classics. We got a top 10 list for a group we surprisingly I don't think it featured on this channel yet. One of the last humongous groups we haven't touched on, so I'm excited to dive into their work today. We got the Grateful Dead top 10 songs, courtesy of a list from our patron and longtime supporter D.
Thank you, D.
D, I know, is a big Deadhead, and so when he brought this list to us, I was very, very excited to see what he brought forth on the table, and I'm looking forward to diving in because I don't really know much Grateful Dead aside from probably 3 songs or so.
Right. Yeah, and spent a lot of time on this list. I only know one song, really. I probably know a couple of these others once I hear it.
But yeah, so looking forward to this. Before we get into the quick facts, y'all, if you could, give us a big thumbs up. That helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. And if you like what you see, hit that big red subscribe button. We upload a bunch of different types of stuff. Top 10 lists, song reactions, album reviews every single day. And if you'd like to link up with us more, we got a great community over on Facebook.
Yes, we do.
Music lovers, as well as Instagram and Discord down below. And if you'd like to be like D and give us a top 10 list, then you can check that out on Patreon, where we have a bunch of great supporters there that help keep this channel going.
For sure, man, for sure.
So all that to say, we got a bit of a longer quick facts, just because I think it's important with the band like the Grateful Dead to kind of set the stage, and then we'll get into the list.
All right, well, the band was ranked 57th by Rolling Stones in their Greatest Artists of All Time issue. They were inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1994 and have sold more than 35 million albums worldwide. 4 of those albums are in the Rolling Stones top 500 albums of all time. Now, the rest of this is something that D sent, and D spent a ton of time.
Oh, yeah, great write-up here.
Great write-up, but just a little history of the group. They were formed in 1965 in Palo Alto, California, which is just south of San Francisco, the home of Stanford University. They started as the Warlocks. The members were from varied musical backgrounds. I thought that was interesting. Jerry Garcia, lead guitars and vocals, of course, came from a bluegrass folk background. Bob Weir was rhythm guitar and vocals from folk and country. Ron Pigpen McKernan, keyboards and vocals from the blues, and Phil Lesh, I think is how you say that, guys. He's going to come up a lot on this, so hopefully I'm saying it right. Bass and vocals from classical and electronic composition. Bill Kreutzmann percussion from R&B, and later they added Mickey Hart percussion from a marching band background. Ooh. So I think that's important because it gives them such a distinct, varied sound.
Yeah.
It's like mixing everything together.
I like that.
They discovered there's another band by that name, the Warlocks, who changed their name to something else you'll recognize, D says, the Velvet Underground. Oh. So Jerry Garcia opened a dictionary and found the name Grateful Dead, and it stuck. So merely out of the dictionary, I kind of always wondered how that came about. Later on, they hooked up with Ken Kesey, author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He, along with his merry pranksters, through several events called acid tests, where the psychedelics flowed freely. Baby, it's the 60s. Let's be relaxed. The Dead were given absolute freedom on what they played, something that helped form their style for their entire career. The merry pranksters took a couple of trips across the country in a psychedelically painted bus named Further. To this day, fans of the band are said to be on the bus.
Ooh, I like that. Just got the we're full on in that 60s psychedelic era right here, and you even today you see the shirts and stuff of the Grateful Dead. It's
everywhere,
always colorful and very psychedelic in nature.
Catches the eye. So in 65 to 67, the San Francisco sound, Haight-Ashbury, all that good stuff, which significantly influenced the Beatles till our man George came over here in the summer of 67. But that sound became more and more popular. Record companies, of course, descended and started signing everybody. The Dead were signed by Warner Brothers and were among the last to be signed. This is very interesting because I know a lot about record contracts just from doing all the research on this channel. The contract allowed unlimited recording time, which is unheard of at the time. At the record company's direction, they went to LA to record their first album. It was produced by David Hassinger, who was assigned by Warner Brothers, which is the way it always worked. Here's your debut album. We're going to put the person in charge, and we're going to tell them how they want you to do it. They were unhappy with the results as it tried to form them into a conventional song structure. They decided that since it was their music, they're going to produce their next 2 albums themselves. It was by trial and error and learning how the studio worked, which took an incredible amount of studio time. And Trey, that was a problem.
So since they spent so much time in the studio, they owed Warner Brothers somewhere between $100,000 to $200,000.
This is in the 60s. That is insane money now, but then
they decided to issue the live record Lives / Dead, which was relatively inexpensive and sold well. They were still in debt to with Warner, so they decided to start rehearsing new material before entering the studio.
Probably a good plan to have it down before you get in there.
So after the wildness of those studio albums, Jerry Garcia wrote a number of songs with lyricist Robert Hunter that were more country influenced. He started playing the pedal steel guitar, and they were never known as strong singers, but they had been spending a fair amount of time with CSNY. I like that little connection, and saw how they structured their harmonies. They found a way to make it their own. They entered the studio and recording Working Man's Dead in about 3 weeks.
That's the way you hone your craft. This is costing us money. Let's go.
And around this time, the band's manager, who was Mickey Hart's father, signed a new contract with Warner's without the band's approval. Ouch. And left town with about $75,000.
Woo.
Mickey thought it best to take it to hiatus from the band, which lasted 5 years. So
was Mickey's dad related to Alan Klein? I don't know.
Yeah, for real. And the band continued to tour and were dedicatedly followed by folks who were newly called Deadheads. They had a strong bond of community. Many sold items in front of the venues to fund their following. Many started recording the live shows. As the band became aware of this, they decided to let them continue doing it, going so far as setting up a taping section in their shows. Very unique, especially compared to a lot of artists.
A lot of bands be going crazy.
Then you had the cool little cassette, the trading back and forth. As a result, these shows were preserved, and I know their live shows are stuff of legend, going many hours. On this list, there's only one live track, just because we kind of put like an hour limit on the top 10.
Yeah,
and I know
exactly.
a lot of their songs, they go long, but cool stuff. And then, unfortunately, Jerry Garcia's health started to decline a little bit.
Yeah, in the late 70s, due to drug use, poor health habits. Everybody's into drugs, and also just you're touring all this time, man. It's hard to eat right, exercise, do any of that stuff. In July of '86, he suffered a diabetic coma. When he came out of it, he had to relearn to play the guitar. He recovered relatively quickly, and touring started again. In the Dark was critically acclaimed, and their last studio album, Built to Last, was released in '89. There were several live albums that you talked about. That was kind of their bread and butter, released over the years. Their popularity actually hit new heights. They were the number one grossing live act in the U.S. for a number of years, but that is a grind, Trey. When that happens, to be the number one grossing act, you got to really put in the work, and that's tough on you. After his coma, Jerry cleaned up his act. He lost several pounds, started healthy activities such as scuba diving. Unfortunately, he fell back into heroin use somewhere around 92 to 93. He went into rehab again in 95. Stories are that he'd already kicked it before he even entered rehab. However, his body could no longer endure the hard life he led. He died on August 9, 1995 of a heart attack. He's only 53 years old.
Wow.
So D told us for the top 10. As I said, it was harder than I thought from a few different viewpoints. At one of your listening parties, we Friday night stream. 6 o'clock Central Time on Friday nights if you want to join in. Both of you mentioned you weren't familiar with their material, as did a couple of other folks, so I decided this would be a Grateful Dead 101. I left out some of their live material simply because of really good stuff. It's just too long, as you already mentioned. The list is mostly chronological, except for, and I put those ... dots there so I didn't say it, Blank, which is my favorite studio song. That's why it's number one. Grateful Dead were America's original jam band. Their shows were legendary, often lasting 5 to 6 hours. They contained long improvisational songs that changed from performance to performance. No two shows were alike. They didn't use a set list. They just flowed.
I like that.
They were not for everyone, but their followers were among the most loyal in rock. As the legendary promoter Bill Graham said, they're not the best at what they do. They're the only ones that do what they do. They were always more comfortable playing live than the studio. Jerry once put it, we always made really horrible, I'll clean it up, studio albums. D says, I disagree with that assessment. So Trey, that is a long build, but I thought it was, let's do them justice, and D did such a fantastic job on that write-up. Let's go to number 10.
That's right. We got St. Stephen from Oxomoxoa from 1969.
Which D put a little phonetic thing there, so thank you, D, so we can know how to pronounce that.
And D said this is part of the band's psychedelic album period. Quirky melody, obscure lyrics, and a little cacophony. The song makes reference to the last days of the first century Saint Stephen, who's found in the book of Acts, the first martyr of the New Testament in the Bible, who was stoned to death. So there we go. The nice little thank you, D, for bringing us the write-up. The
write-up's huge, man. Thank you.
As always, we're going to have the lyrics pulled up, y'all, and I should mention, if you're watching this on YouTube, we are chopping out the music just due to the copyright. When you have more than a couple songs, they seem to block you more so than normal. But no, don't worry. There's going to be the full video with the music included down below. So we're going to listen, enjoy the tracks, and then give our thoughts after each one of them. So thanks again, D, and let's get started. Number 10, Saint Steven, coming in. I was just struck by the psychedelic nature
I swear to you, I
of
was
the
about to
track.
say, yeah, the psychedelic, especially on the guitar.
And you know what? This song just it was just full of life. You know, with the keys coming in and
I
just
agree.
the guitar just hidden at just the right points. I thought they did a good job. Even at times they cut out almost all the music, and you just heard Jerry deliver a line or two.
Yeah.
It kept it interesting. As somebody who's not familiar with the Dead sound at all, I'm going to be curious how. And SD kind of put some of these tunes chronologically. Curious how their sound's going to develop with time and what type of sounds from them I'm going to enjoy the most. But I dug that, and bringing in the whole Saint Stephen, the story I know we're both familiar with.
Yeah, very much so.
Was interesting as well. What you think of it?
Yeah, I liked it as well. You kind of said it. I mean, that's what I was going to say. I really like the psychedelic nature of the guitars. It's more sparse instrumentally for a while than what I thought it was going to be, just out of my natural assumption. But I mean, I like that. It told a really good story. Yeah, it's a great way to start, man.
And
good choice.
I like the keys in there, especially by old Pigpen. I like that nickname too.
I do too, man.
When you got a nickname like that, yeah, you probably can go in whatever you're doing. And like the verse too, did he doubt or did he try? Answers aplenty in the by and by. Talk about your plenty, talk about your ills. One man gathers what another man spills.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
So cool way to start this list off for sure. And now we're going to go to the next track, number 9, Uncle John's Band from Working Man's Dead, 1970.
Which we learned they recorded in 3 weeks.
That's right. Dee said it was a definite change that surprised the faithful. This record, it's getting down to basics with a country, almost calypso sound, with a nice surprise toward the end. Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
Right.
The band was never known for their strong vocals, but they had been, as we mentioned, spending a fair amount of time
That must have influenced us directly.
with Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
And it was written by Jerry and lyricist Robert Hunter. Presents the Dead in an acoustic and musically concise mode with close harmony singing, so I guess the CSNY influence, and the song is one of the band's best known. It's included on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll, and in 2001 it was named 321st out of 365 in the Songs of the Century Project list. Was their first chart hit, only went to 69 on the Hot 100, but back then it was a bloodbath to reach anywhere on that chart.
Definitely. Well, looking forward to these harmonies here. Let's see what Uncle John's got for us. Man, what you think of that
I really
one?
enjoyed the harmonies.
Yeah, man,
That was spot on, man.
I love. I really enjoyed just how crisp that sounded. Especially,
Yeah, it just set a whole atmosphere and mood. It's really good.
Compared to the last track, which was obviously leaning heavy into the psychedelicness.
Right.
The keys were going in. You had the psychedelic type of guitar. Here, we just had the beautiful, sweet acoustic, pleasant melody at the very end there. They stripped everything back, just went in with the vocals as well. I'm just wondering, who's Uncle John?
Who's Uncle John, man? I think, in the intro we talked about how this was the album where they did it in 3 weeks is when they started rehearsing everything, so they didn't have the big studio cost. And it shows in this song. It's very crisp, man. Just very well done.
Oh, definitely here, man. And I just enjoyed too just the journey it kind of took you on, the nice folky-esque arrangement, which I again think points back to what we were talking about at the start. All the members came from different backgrounds.
Right, exactly.
So, hey, let's do a folky type song. Let's go psychedelic here. Let's maybe put a little classical vibe in here or here. So this is not the only song we're doing from this record. We're doing actually a live version of a track later on.
Trey with the tease,
in this list. You gotta kind of tell the people what's coming on ahead. Now, as we continue chronologically through, we're going to the record American Beauty, which has a couple songs on this list. We have Box of Rain, denoted different sound for the band with luscious harmonies. Jerry Garcia on piano for a change. This was written while Phil Lesh was dealing with the death of his father.
Oh, wow. And he did the music part. He composed it, and lyricist Robert Hunter did most of the lyrics at the behest of Phil, but Phil sung it. And later years, the song was a favorite, and the crowd would shout, "Let Phil sing," to hear the song. It's the first Grateful Dead song released to feature Phil as the lead vocals, which is appropriate considering the content. The song would also feature two musicians who are not in the band.
Interesting.
Dave Torbert played bass while Lesh played acoustic guitar. David Nelson of New Riders of the Purple Sage plays the lead guitar with a Fender Telecaster, while Jerry plays the piano, as you mentioned. And according to lyricist Hunter, Lesh wanted a song to sing to his dying father and composed a piece complete with every vocal nuance but the words. If ever a lyric, quote, wrote itself, this did, as fast as the pen would pull.
Ooh.
Phil practiced the song driving to the nursing home where his father lay with terminal cancer. Wow, that's heavy.
I was about to say, I think this is going to be a definite contrast to the last song we did here. This is gonna be a heavy hitter for sure. So let's get to number 8, Box of Rain. I enjoyed the mix of genres in that one.
Very much so, a smorgasbord, man.
We had a little blues, a lot of country, especially in the pedal steel guitar that was there, and a little
fit the tone of it, the subject.
Yeah, and a little bit of folkiness, especially in that kind of vocal delivery, very soft-spoken, which I think reflected the lyrics quite well. I enjoyed this.
Except emotional. I could feel the emotion, even though it was soft-spoken.
Oh, yeah, I think this might be in the running. At the end, we're going to do our favorite 3 tracks. I just feel like Phil really was able to convey that emotion in his heart, because you know what, man, this often some of the best art and songs come through the pain of the people writing them singing them. So I think he did that quite well. And just detailed throughout the track. I like the "What do you want me to do to watch for you while you are sleeping? Then please don't be surprised when you find me dreaming too." That sense of people hurt in the hospital or whatever. I don't know if he was really thinking of that there, but you want to be strong for that person, but at the end of the day, we're all human, we're all weak, even if we want to be there for others. And then a neat little guitar solo there in the middle too.
Yeah, I agree. And then he goes into the verse, "Look into any eyes you find by you can see clear through to another day. Maybe it's been seen before through other eyes on other days while going home." So
I thought that was quite a poetic.
It was great, man.
So very strong and emotionally packed tune on this one, and still each have had their unique musical arrangements to them, and now we're going to stay
in 1970 on American Beauty.
Stay on the same record
with a famous Truckin. D said it's a biographic lyric of the band on tour and talking about the drug bust in New Orleans, and then I did a bunch of research too. It was recognized by the United States Library of Commerce in 1997 as a national treasure. That's a really big deal. Written by band members Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir, Phil Lesh, and lyricist Robert Hunter, so they all contributed because of kind of what it's about. And as Dee mentioned, the lyrics refer to a drug raid of the band's hotel in New Orleans during a concert tour earlier in 1970, so same year. It was they were coming in hot on it.
Yeah, and Jerry said that the early stuff we wrote that we tried to set to music was stiff because it wasn't really meant to be sung. The result of lyricist Robert Hunter getting into our touring world, the better he could write, and the better we could create music around it. The communal shared group experience feel of the song is brought home by the participation of all 4 of the group's chief songwriters. Since, in Phil Lesh's words, we, quote, took our experiences on the road and made it poetry. Good quote right there, Phil. He goes on to say that the last chorus defines the band itself, and the single here reached 64 in the U.S. and stayed on the chart for 8 weeks.
It was their highest charting pop single they would have until another song that's coming up later, so I will just leave that alone right there.
Cool stuff. So sticking on American Beauty here, and it looks like this is the last track on that record.
Always interested to see what they want to bring you first and last. So.
Exactly. So let's get Truckin'. Ooh, Truckin'. Coming in strong tune, man. I think I spoke too soon on the last track, because this has been my favorite one up to this point.
Yeah, I thought it was just a great vibe of Truckin'. I could set the mood from traveling around. We talked about in the beginning, the touring that they did. It had to be brutal, and they're just kind of heading. They run a laundry list of the cities.
No, I thought that was cool. Dallas, which we live in a suburb of, even got a shout out, so appreciate that.
Yeah, I like the line right there. What in the world ever became of Sweet Jane? She lost her sparkle. She isn't the same. Living on reds, which are barbiturates. They're downers. Vitamin C to get you up, and cocaine will get you going. So
Sweet Jane, I'm assuming Mary Jane just doesn't hit anymore.
yeah, so you got to go with this. All a friend can say is, "Ain't it a shame?" So
And it was cool because you had the nice laid back, chilled vocals. Like sometime the light's all shining on me. Other times I can barely see, one of my favorite lines in there too. But then he went into some of that unique vocal delivery, like most of the cats that you meet on the street speak of true love. Like I don't know how to describe it, but I thought it was cool just the way he delivered those lines and kind of rapid fire
Agreed.
in there as well. And then of course bringing in some of the band's history about getting busted on Bourbon Street, set up like a bowling pin, knocked down, and it gets to wearing thin. They just won't let you be.
they won't let you be, man. Come on, guys.
The Dead are just trying to chill, man. And then the cops come in. They got the warrant. I guess they will come in. You know, I kind of like the way here he didn't take like a woe is me type attitude.
No,
He just said,
like,
said, hey,
it's part
man,
of it, man.
It is what it is. So a little cool organ in there as well. I enjoyed the arrangement. So all in all, a very, very strong track. I'm going to have to check out American Beauty in full after those last two songs. And now we get to the only live song on this list.
Yeah, Cumberland Blues off the Europe 72 album, which is a triple album, by the way. D said, the only live performance on the list. It's a sample of how the band sounds live. The original is on Working Man's Dead and is given a definitively Bakersfield country sound, including Jerry on the banjo. So finally get to the live one.
All right, well, let's get to it. I like that D included that, but to kind of hear them live, and it's pretty remarkable how great they sounded. And
yeah, it reminded me of a tune you would think that the band would do, kind of like everything in there, and definitely a live track that kind of shows that this band was best experienced live as Jerry referenced several times himself.
No, definitely. Like how they kind of leaned into that country, little folksy towards the end there at time. I thought the old Pigpen really impressed me on the keys again. And
very much so on this one particularly.
Yeah, and cool to hear Jerry Garcia use that banjo as well. Again, showing that country influence, man. I thought his lead guitar, again, was fantastic. I see that the original song is only 3 minutes, 15 seconds, so it's kind of cool to hear him kind of break up the verses with those awesome instrumental sections there. So I dug that, man, and yeah, I'm just very impressed how fantastic they sounded live. I know the Deadheads will be talking in the comments some live tracks to check out
to this,
for sure. And so now we're in the top 5 now. And I mean, I know Dee said that this was just chronological, so keep that in mind besides the number 1 home. But we're going to now Eyes of the World from the record Wake of the Flood, 1973. And Dee said this is a beautiful melody and a heartwarming refrain with a rare bass guitar solo.
Looking forward to that.
Let's see what we got here, y'all. Very chill track, especially compared to the last couple that we've done here. Kind of, again, shows up the different sides of the group.
I was going to say that the differentiated instrumentation, with the bass solo is totally different than the keyboard-dominated previous track.
Oh, yeah.
So I like that.
I know Dee said, I kept listening for it. I was like, when's this bass solo
I know,
going to hit? And then
there it was.
I just had to be patient, y'all. I just had to be patient. So, again, last track, kind of Pigpen was able to be the star in a sense. Now Phil with his bass work, I thought. And, again, just lyrics that kind of are a bit psychedelic in nature. The whole Eyes of the World makes you think almost of an Eastern concept.
Yes, definitely. That's what I was thinking.
Or whatnot. And I just love the delivery on this. Very soft, very soothing. And it's just one that you kind of put the headphones on, I think, lay back on your bed and just close your eyes, kind of get lost into the music maybe after a long, tough day, man. You just get a bit of a lazy type of track.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. What nice ambiance, man.
So really cool one right there. I dug that one, D. And now we're going to the only song on here that I actually know.
Number 4.
I
know one, but it ain't this one. Scarlet, Begonias from the Mars Hotel album, 1974. D says a cheerful melody and really interesting lyrics regarding a potential love affair. And then my research told me the lyrics were written by Robert Hunter, music by Jerry. Song begins in Grosvenor Square. Go ahead, everybody in the UK. Laugh now. In London, and also references T for Two from No No Nanette by Irving Caesar and Vincent Yormans. Boy, Trey, I should have let you read
I was
this.
about to say, man.
All right, you're smiling, man, knowing I get all this tough stuff. The third stanza uses gambling/loss imagery that occurs in many Grateful Dead songs. The line, "As I picked up my matches and was closing the door," uses a symbolism of playing poker with matchsticks to indicate a very low-stakes gamble that was made for fun. Well, that one sounds interesting, man. Let's get after it.
Well, and Sublime did a cover of this tune as well in the 90s. So,
okay.
So yeah, let's see what we got here. You know, this is, like I said, this is the only song I was familiar with. We did a song battle with this in Sublime on one of the live streams I did.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think you were in the room actually when we were doing this, but. So I just like, as I mentioned, kind of that island chilled out.
I very much like the vibe of this one. Yes.
So I thought
if Jimmy Buffett hasn't covered this, he's missed a chance. He probably has.
No, you're right, man. It does. Yeah, that seems like something Jimmy could pull off as a cover here. And the story was kind of cool too. He's infatuated with this girl. And just the way Jerry is, I'm kind of a broken record. Just the way he delivers the lines is, very. He's got a very unique voice.
Yeah, and he never seems hurried.
No, yeah, that's a good point.
You know, because sometimes you'll hear guys who are like really trying too hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he knows who he is. You know, we're big NBA fans. It's like getting a player in a game who's not really a scorer, but he shoots it every time he gets it. You get a lot of vocalists sometimes who get a pretty good song and they try to overdo it, man, to stay in your lane. And Jerry's very good at knowing who he is.
Oh, definitely. I particularly like the line, "I ain't often right, but I've never been wrong. It seldom turns out the way it does in the song. Once in a while, you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right." And then at the end of the day, he notes that I had to learn the hard way to let her pass by. Sometimes... you just gotta put those pipe dreams of
you gotta let it go, baby, let it go.
Kind of in the back of you. So again, I'm very impressed with Robert Hunter's lyricism up in.
I am too.
In these tunes as well. And now we're gonna skip ahead a few years to Terrapin Station from 1977 with the track "Estimated Profit." This album was produced by Keith Olsen, fresh from producing Fleetwood Mac's self-titled record, which is a fantastic album in its own right.
It is.
Quirky time signature and unusual lyrics, D says. So let's see what we got here for "Estimated Profit" as we're getting farther into the 70s here in the Dead's catalog. What do you think of that one?
I liked it. With Bob on the lead vocals and definitely a different, I think you mentioned it during the reaction, a funkier sound, just a definite different sound. 1977, things are changing a little bit, and it sounds like they did change a little bit with it. And the interesting musical technique, I mentioned it a little bit on the last song, but you can tell they build these little instrumental breaks in between some of the verses. I think probably they did it intentionally, knowing that in the live show they could stretch that there's a break. Here's a break. Here's a break.
And here we're in '77, so their live reputations just probably continue to grow.
Like, you know what? Let's go ahead and throw this here. But I bet because you feel like, there could be more to that.
So. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think this will end up in my top 3. I just like
it's really good
aura of it too. It's haunting kind of in the verses, but then you get the chorus and it's a bit more sweet, and you got the harmonies coming in, so kind of like some of those earlier tunes that were influenced by like CSNY or whatnot, but then it went back, leaned into the funkiness of the verses, and here it kind of it seems like almost one of those crazy leaders or whatnot saying that his time's coming, don't worry about me, it's just going to be just like they say, them voices tell me so. Just kind of almost like a guy who thinks he's a chosen one or something.
Exactly, a modern day prophet in his own mind.
And talking about California, I'll be knocking on the golden door like an angel, standing in a shaft of light, rising up to paradise, I know I'm going to shine. So probably thinks he's going to be a chosen one to heaven type of thing, so you better follow me type of deal. And then we put the saxophone in there, so a little jazz influence as well, and a cool little outro at the end there. Just loved everything about the aura of this tune. So,
I agree.
Again, cool to see just their influences, like they're continuing to branch out here even in 77, and they're continuing to stretch their musical legs. And now we're going to do the last tune that's in the chronological order here from the latter part of the band's career. We got Touch of Grey from In the Dark, which is from 1987, and this surprisingly is their only top 10 hit.
Right, they've been playing it live for years. It combines dark lyrics in the verses with upbeat pop instrumentation. Music was composed by Jerry. Lyrics were written by Robert Hunter. Also had a music video, the first one by the Grateful Dead. It was first performed all the way back in September of '82 as an encore at Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, which is basically D.C. It's where the Bullets used to play before they became the Wizards. But I know this song because of the music video. So if you're a child of the '80s, such as myself, when I was said that song, you picture the skeletons. It had skeletons of the Grateful Dead with the hair. So this is the only song that I really knew. So let's hit it.
And at the start, I gotta be honest, I was like, this. It seems a little bit safe in a sense, but once it got going a little bit more, and I kind of got the message of the track, just kind of the perseverance theme of it, and the chorus just pretty catchy, even though it is simple lyrically. I really started to enjoy it towards the end there, and I wonder too, that I see. Robert Hunter admitted that
I was going to say
that this was a bit inspired by a cocaine-fueled night. So
he said a friend brought over a hunk of very good cocaine. I stayed up all night, and at dawn, I wrote that song. That was the last time I ever used cocaine. Now I listen to it, and that's the attitude you get when you've been up all night speeding and you're absolutely the dregs. I think I got it down in that song. I think with this song, more than any of the others, it's more it's got a catchier melody. Yeah. It's got actually a little hook to it, which was smart in 1987. I would have been 15 or 16 at this time, depending on when it hit. I see July 6th, so I wasn't quite 16 yet. I didn't hate it then, which is pretty good for 15-year-old me. With this type of music, it didn't really appeal to a 15-year-old at the time, but I didn't hate it. It made me aware of them, which before that I really wasn't too aware of them, just because I grew up in a family that listened to music, and
this is their only top 10 hits.
Yeah, exactly. So it at least introduced me to them a little bit. So I thought it was good for its time period.
And it's one of those songs where I especially like verse 3.
That's what I thought too.
It's even worse than it appears, but it's all right. Cal was given kerosene. Kid can't read at 17. The words he knows are all obscene, but it's all right. And you get into that chorus, I will get by. I will get by. I will survive. And then I like at the end too, it switches to we.
We, yeah, I did too.
We will get by. We will get by. We will survive. I'm sure, one of those things that, the Deadheads and fans, especially pushed into whenever members of the group maybe were, and of course Jerry's personal troubles as well.
Sure.
Kind of a theme like, hey, there's always maybe a touch of gray in some of this stuff, but hey, at the end of the day, we will get by. Now that brings us to number 1. All right, remember people, this was more a chronological list, not like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, except for this one.
This is D's number 1.
Which D had to put at 1. We're going back to American Beauty, which we've already had, a couple tunes, most notably Truckin', which I think is going to end up in my top 3. D noted this is a wonderful lyric and beautiful melody that suits Jerry Garcia's verse perfectly. Speaking of Truckin', this was the B-side to that. Robert Hunter wrote the song in 1970 in London. On the same afternoon, he wrote Broke Down Palace and To Lay Me Down, reportedly drinking half a bottle of Retsina in the process.
I didn't know what that was.
So they debuted this at Fillmore West, a very famous venue in San Fran. Jerry actually, as custom, wrote music to the song. Several lines throughout the song have been compared to the 23rd Psalm in the Bible.
Yeah, and Hunter said that Ripple contained the lines of which he was most proud. Reach out your hand, if your cup be empty, if your cup is full, may it be again. Let it be known there is a fountain that was not made by the hands of men. Ripple has a similar melody to the gospel hymn Because He Lives, which was published a year later. It's also similar melody-wise to Any Dream Will Do from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which was first performed 2 years before Ripple was recorded. So he borrowed maybe a little bit, maybe he didn't, and probably not consciously if he did, and then someone borrowed from this. So
pretty neat.
I don't think I know this song. I haven't known any of the others except for Touch of Grey, but maybe I do.
All right, well, after this show, we'll give our favorite tunes, and let's see number 1 coming in as we top off our Grateful Dead list. What do you think of that one?
I liked it. I can see why D chose that as number 1. Just a great atmosphere, vibe. It kind of summed up a lot of the stuff we'd heard. Nice and chilled. It's off American Beauty, a chilled time there.
folky, and
more
definitely
folky,
had
more
the
story, you know.
had that hymnal, almost like an
Yeah.
American or a Grateful Dead, hymnal in a sense.
Little CSNY influence in it, I thought.
And a lot of lyrics that I think can be open to multiple interpretations
Right.
as well, which I definitely enjoy. And these are, if they're not the strongest set of lyrics that Robert wrote, they're definitely up there.
They're definitely up there.
I can see why he enjoyed it. So,
And no cocaine on this one.
No
So, I mean,
cocaine,
yeah,
that's
it's just
right.
great lyrics.
Of course, you have the "Let It Be Known There's a Fountain that was not made by the hands of men." It definitely has that spiritual, otherworldly component. There is a road, no simple highway between the dawn and the dark of night. If you go, no one may follow. That path is for your steps alone. I mean, we're all on our own individual paths of life. Others are by us, but at the end of the day, we're
You make those decisions yourself, and at the end of the day, you will answer for those decisions yourself.
Exactly, and I like that concept. There's a ripple in still water when there is no pebble toss nor wind to blow. A bit of a mystique there, a mystery, which I enjoy, and he, at the end, he notes, if I knew the way, I would take you home. So this guy doesn't know the way necessarily either. We're all on this path of life, just figuring it out kind of as we go along. So cool stuff there. That's going to take us now to our favorite tracks. For me, I'm going to go Ripple. In mine, I'm going to go Estimated Profit and Truckin' for me. I just enjoyed the differences that all those tracks brought to the table in their own unique ways. But yeah, what do you got?
Well, I got 4, and so we always pick 3. So I've got Truckin' as well. Mm-hmm. The other one I had in there that you have is Ripple. So I'll make Ripple my honorable mention. So my other 2 are Scarlet, Begonias, and then Box of Rain.
Box of Rain
just
was
the
up there
lyrics
for
and the
me.
power of that for what it was about is up there for me.
Well, just to sum it all up, man, I think this is a great introduction.
That's what I was going to say. You did a fantastic job of showing me multiple facets of the Dead, man.
Yeah, and I'm impressed by how all the different genres they've been able to touch on throughout the years, and yet still had their own unique sound that they had, even from their first song that we did, St. Stephen, all the way to Touch of Grey that was in '87. Even if they expanded their sound, they still had that unique vibe that only the Dead have. And I think there's a reason they're on the list of greatest American bands, because, man, their legacy, their fans have. That's how you're really popular and over, because hey, they stopped coming out with music,
right, and still are
still are just beloved to this day. Their fans are some of the most dedicated in any musical genre or group, man. So that's a testament to just their lasting impact of their music and how it has affected millions of people across the world. So I'm glad you're able to share this with us.
Yes, thank you.
Let us know, y'all, your top 10 Grateful Dead tunes down below. I know there's a lot to choose from. Appreciate all the research, Dad.
Yeah, it's fun.
Until next time, y'all, thanks for watching. Happy listening, and we will see ya.